Hi, everybody. It's Friday afternoon, June 11th at 5:30 p.m. in Huntington Beach, California, and it's a weekly wrap-up. Still three main stories in the news, if you listen closely. One is the COVID virus, you want to call it that. I call it the Wuhan virus. It started in the Wuhan lab. And the news this week is very troubling. And if you know any history about Anthony Fauci with the HIV, the news is eerily similar. See, I always say follow the money. Remember, I told you I called the FBI a while back to say that, if Fauci went behind President Trump's back after Obama told him to stop funding the Wuhan lab, that's a big problem. Congressional people are supposed to start money and they allocate it and the president signs it, and you can't just start a program that's been stopped behind America, behind our back. That was bad. But this is even worse. If it's true that Fauci has a financial stake in Moderna's mRNA vaccine, that's the science behind the vaccine, the mRNA, is new. That's why this is experimental. He has a financial stake in the Moderna vaccine. That shows a conflict of interest when he's telling the country, California, I couldn't get hydroxychloroquine in California. The governor wouldn't allow it because Fauci's CDC said so. The CDC or the NIH or, Collins and Fauci in cahoots, they shot down hydroxychloroquine and it worked. So many times. The new thing trending, not to me new, but, starting to trend, Trump is right again. Trump was right again and again. I used to hashtag that in Twitter days before I was thrown off. And President Trump said he didn't want to be just right. He didn't want to be right again. He just wanted them to get it right. So I stopped hashtagging it. I should never have stopped. My bad, Mr. President. Second, so that's the Fauci story. And there's more news coming out about that. Oh, let me discuss that, the Wuhan lab, why I'm so adamant it came from the lab. Now, it might not have been shoved out of the lab on purpose. It could have been an accident getting out of the lab, but it came from the lab. Think about this. The Bat Cave is 1,000 miles from the Wuhan wet market. 800 miles, if you want to be exact. Okay, we'll say 800 miles. I think New York to Chicago is 900 miles. So let's take that, New York to Chicago. Chicago to New York. If the bat came from Chicago and went to New York, it went through some of Illinois, Ohio, Pennsylvania, part of New Jersey into New York. Yet, when the bat, as Fauci says, it migrated and it, it did what it did, and it evolved, evolution to another animal. They can't find that other animal, Mr. Fauci, can you? Dr. Fauci, I fraud you. Fauci's barely a doctor, if you ask me. He says it evolved when they can't produce that other animal like they did with SARS-1. SARS-1, they produced a raccoon or some kind of weird animal that it evolved into. This doesn't have that mid-animal outside of the human. So it went back to human. So then the bat, as I was saying, goes from Chicago to New York, gets no one sick. No one gets sick in between. No one gets sick in Chicago. No one gets sick in Pennsylvania. No one gets sick in Ohio, rather, and Pennsylvania and New Jersey and New York until it's released, and then the whole world gets sick. Does that make sense to anybody? I don't. I have a problem with, I used to read Sherlock Holmes as a kid, and there's no deductive reasoning in that theory. So I don't believe it came out of nature. I think it came from the lab. The gain of function research, they had some kind of incident. It got out. It made it to the wet market where all those people were. That was right before the Chinese New Year, or maybe it was part of the Chinese New Year. And again, there's that same story. They found out it was a problem. They shut down the lab for a couple of weeks. We found out this week too. They shut down the lab. There was nobody no cars in the lot. There was no lights in the building were on for a few weeks. Then they shut down whole Hubei province, all shut down. They could have prevented it from escaping to the world, but they said, well, no, you can go international. You can't come domestically, but you can go international and leave China. Oh, remember, they just signed that Luxacata glass deal. So they had to go to Italy. That's bad news. Let me tell you, that's bad news. Okay, so the other story, of course, that we hear is out of Maricopa, Arizona. The audit is moving along. It is the gold standard for forensic audits. It is the only thing that's been leaked, to my knowledge, and I believe that it's true, is that it is disastrous. That election was not the best election run. It's disastrous. I don't think they have the ballots matching the boxes. It's all like 25% of the boxes were mislabeled. There wasn't 200. There wasn't the right amount of ballots in the box. Second, what's important is that I've heard 7 states have gone and 9 more are planned. That's 16 states. Because it's halfway to 2/3. Right, 32 out of 50. Yeah. 16 states are going to go see Arizona's to what they're doing for the audit and how well it's done. One of the state legislators that went in as a police background and an investigative background, he was very impressed with the way they're doing it. And don't think it's done. I heard Monday it might be done, but the counting is done, not the audit. We still have to canvass. And I believe Democrats are going to try to they're going to try to tarnish the canvass, but I think they're going to physically try to stop it. I think they're really going to try to go to court to stop it. And they can't. The canvass is part of the audit. It's already been approved. Judge has already approved it. It's going to happen. And the canvass is going to be the icing on the cake, the proving it's where the rubber meets the road. 6 people voted from this area, from this house. Only 2 people live there. There's going to be a lot of that. So that's pretty big news. Then the news out of Michigan. Michigan had Matt DePerno dropped a bombshell. A bombshell. Someone anonymously accessed the machines in Antrim, Michigan, remotely on November 4th. I'll say that again slowly. On November 4th, a human, someone, we don't know who, accessed the computer, the Antrim counting machines. You call them EMS, you want to call them Dominion, I'm not sure what they were, but accessed it, ESNS maybe. They accessed it remotely. It's not supposed to have Wi-Fi at all. Okay? And it was anonymous. Anonymously, remotely accessing your votes. How's that sound? I don't think that sounds very good, sir. So I think, ma'am, I do believe we might want to throw all those votes out. That's crazy. That was just an Antrim. You know what was going on in Lansing. You know it was going on in Detroit. You know it was going on in the whole country. I am actively participating in trying to change the way we vote. I want to have smaller precincts, paper ballots. If the precinct size was 1,000 people, 1,000 voters, everybody would know each other. You'd know who was voting. You'd know a stranger when you walked in. And it'd be a much cleaner way. Okay, so that's pretty much the vote. So the last thing that happened is the border. And what I want to say about the border is someone else said this earlier. I don't know who said this, but they're right. It's too late for the Bidens to visit the border. Kamala, don't even bother. Okay? It's not a crisis anymore either. It's an invasion. And in some places, it's kinetic. The cartel is taking swaths of acres of the land that belongs to ranchers. So they really abdicated their oath to protect our border. So Texas is going to finish the wall on their own. I think Anthony Miller is in charge. Stephen Miller, is legal defense team has been working with Attorney General of Texas and the Governor of Texas, and they're going to propose, and I believe it's going to happen. They're going to act on this. They're going to finish Trump's wall themselves. That was stopped illegally. Biden just took it on his own to stop it when it was already allocated. It was already signed for. It was already supposed to happen, and they were so close to finishing it. And everybody's coming in to the country illegally in places there is no wall. So I think they're going to build more than just what wasn't finished, which would be a good idea. So that's pretty much your weekly update. A lot more is going to break. President Trump will speak at Mike Lindell's event tomorrow at 3 p.m. Central Time, 1 p.m. Eastern, 4 p.m. Eastern Time, 1 p.m. Pacific Time. So those are your three stories: the border, the Wuhan virus, and the elections. And momentum is starting to turn between the Arizona, the Georgia, Pennsylvania, Michigan news. Tick, tock. Signing out.